It would be interesting to go through the Scripture and inventory those occasions where either a prayer or an incident on the part of man caused God to change his timetable. There are occasions in our memory we can think of. For example, when they were in the wilderness and they sent the 12 spies to spy out the promised land. 10 gave the ill report, 2 gave the positive report, but because they lost their nerve, if you will, God sentenced them to wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. One could view that as a situation where God's timetable was altered to accommodate a circumstance. You can probably think of other cases, Hezekiah and the sundial, where the sundial actually moved back in time to commemorate the fact that it was that he was given extra time. Now, of course, the long day of Joshua is another type of example, perhaps. There's also such subtle comments where the Lord speaks of John the Baptist coming in the spirit of Elijah. He wasn't Elijah, he came in the spirit of Elijah. He says, but if you could accept it, then Elijah's come. In other words, you sort of get the impression that if their reception had been different, the plan would have been different. And I suspect you could make a very interesting study. It would have to be a fairly sophisticated study, but one in which you would examine what apparently God's timetable was and where he causes an extension. It's clear that God paces his timetable depending on, for example, this whole business of the conquest of Canaan. One of the pacing items for the conquest of Canaan was that the sin of the Amorites was not yet full. Remember that remark we studied in Genesis? I wonder if some event has caused God to postpone for maybe a year or 2 or 3 Ezekiel 38. Wouldn't that be interesting if somehow we could know that? Would it be prayer? Would it be a revival? Would it be to give time for someone, some group, some number to be added to the kingdom? Interesting. And that's a possible view of what we've seen. Maybe not correct, but an interesting view. Maybe he's also given us a little more time. Maybe not 2 years, maybe 2 days or 2 hours. And maybe there's somebody in this room who needs to come into the kingdom. I don't know who that is, but the person does. Someone hearing me right now is probably one that the Lord is attempting to communicate with, deal with, and has, if you will, kept the gates open a little longer before the train pulls away. Kind of interesting. If you're that person, I do commend that you don't let time go by without dealing with that in the privacy of your own will, in the privacy of your own communion. Is to confront your Maker, receive your Redeemer, and let the rest of us out of here.